One Piece. Chapter 1150 was absolutely incredible. After the shocking developments in Chapter 1150, with Imu appearing in Elbaf, the door is wide open for an explosive Chapter 1151. Today, I'm going to share my predictions for Chapter 1151. This is just a weekly prediction, and I'll also point out a video for the One Piece fan community to discuss and refer to while we wait for the new chapter. If you enjoy it, please like, comment, or subscribe to motivate me to create more videos. With its fast pacing, tightly woven plot points, and the introduction of new forces like Imu, the final boss of the story, Oda is gradually pushing the narrative toward an unpredictable climax. As the veil of mystery is slowly lifted, reasonable yet shocking theories are starting to take shape. Predictions for Chapter 1151. 1. Luffy and the Straw Hats' reaction. Chapter 1150 focused on the chaos caused by Imu in Elbaf, but the Straw Hats haven't made a direct appearance yet. In Chapter 1151, I predict Luffy and his crew will be reintroduced, possibly in another part of Elbaf, or just discovering the chaos Imu has unleashed. Luffy, with his hatred for injustice, will immediately want to confront Imu upon learning about the Devil's contract and his manipulation of Brogy and Dory, old friends of the Straw Hats from the Little Garden arc. There could be an emotional moment when Luffy realizes Brogy and Dory have been turned into demonic giants, prompting him to resolve to save them, much like he tried to rescue manipulated characters in previous arcs, like Thriller Bark or Whole Cake Island. Luffy and the Straw Hats, absent from direct action in Chapter 1150, will return in Chapter 1151. With Luffy's disdain for injustice and loyalty to his friends, Brogy and Dory, he won't stand idly by while Imu manipulates Elbaf. I predict Loki and Luffy will find themselves in a chaotic situation, perhaps under attack by Imu's army of demonic giants. Loki might save Ja Rule to clear his own name and be impressed by Luffy's determination and free spirit. Luffy could say something quintessentially him, like, "I don't care who you are, but if you want to protect Elbaf and save my friends, fight with me." This could spark an unexpected alliance between Loki and Luffy, with Loki realizing Luffy might be the key to saving Ja Rule. 2. More of Imu's power. Revealed, Imu has already displayed terrifying power with Conqueror's Haki and a magical book that summons weapons. In Chapter 1151, we might get more details about the source of Imu's power. It's possible that this magical book is tied to a special mythical Zoan devil fruit, or an ancient power related to the Void Century. Oda often drops subtle hints about major mysteries, so we might see a brief flashback or a character, like Vegapunk or an elderly giant in Elbaf, comment on the similarity between Imu's power and an ancient legend. Additionally, the Devil's contract could be explained in more detail. It might not just be a simple curse, but rather tied to an ancient pact between Imu and forces in Elbaf, shedding light on the island's history. 3. Ohara's legacy and other factors. Ohara's legacy. Elbaf's library may contain records about the ancient kingdom, threatening to expose the truth Imu is hiding. Luffy's allies. An alliance between Luffy, the bearer of Nika's power, the giant warriors, and Dragon's revolutionary army could become a nightmare for the world government. Military power. Elbaf boasts a formidable army of giants, which could become a key force in the fight against Imu. Mother Flame fuel. With York and the factory on Egghead still operational, Imu has enough ammunition to attack Elbaf. 4th, Ja Rule's resistance. Ja Rule, described as the current leader of Elbaf, may appear in Chapter 1151, but be captured due to his old age, unable to resist. He might confront Imu's army of demonic giants directly. As a significant figure in Elbaf, Ja Rule likely has ties to the island's warrior traditions, possibly wielding a unique form of haki or a giant-specific combat skill. There could be a moment where Jarul tries to convince Brogy and Dory to return to their senses, reminding them of the honor of Elbaf's warriors. This would highlight the themes of friendship and loyalty, a recurring motif in One Piece. Additionally, Zoro, wielding Enma, might sense something unusual through his sword, similar to how Enma reacted in the Wano arc. This could lead to Zoro getting more involved in the fight against Imu. 5. Imu's motives and a larger trap. Imu seems to be aiming to control Elbaf by overthrowing Jarul and placing Brogy and Dory in leadership roles. In Chapter 1151, I predict there will be a hint that Imu's plan extends beyond Elbaf, possibly tied to collecting the ancient weapons or controlling the entire Grand Line. A character like Robin or a wise giant might uncover a connection between Imu's actions and the poneglyphs, especially if Elbaf is hiding a road poneglyph. There's also a chance Imu reveals part of his motives, such as destroying Elbaf's traditions to prevent an ancient prophecy tied to Joy Boy or the Straw Hat. 6. Detailed analysis of cliffhanger scenarios. Luffy faces Imu and is overwhelmed by the Devil's contract. Why is this plausible? Luffy is the heart of One Piece, and having him face Imu, a mysterious and powerful figure, would be a climactic moment, especially as the Elbaf arc accelerates. Imu has shown fearsome power with Conqueror's Haki and the Devil's Contract, turning Brogy and Dory into immortal demonic giants. If Luffy confronts Imu, he might be overwhelmed by a variation of the Devil's Contract, raising questions about whether he can resist this curse, especially with his free will, a core theme tied to Gear 5 and Joy Boy. Specific scenario. At the end of Chapter 1151, Luffy might charge at Imu to protect Brogy and Dory, only for Imu to activate a special version of the Devil's Contract. Instead of turning Luffy into a demon, Imu might try to manipulate his mind, but Luffy's haki erupts, creating a spectacular standoff. The chapter ends with Luffy standing amid smoke, his eyes glowing fiercely, but his body showing signs of the curse, like black veins on his hand, leaving readers stunned and wondering if Luffy will be controlled. Conclusion, Chapter 11:51 is likely to ramp up the pace of the Elbaf arc, with the return of Luffy and the Straw Hats, more revelations about Imu's powers and motives, and Jarul's critical role in protecting Elbaf. Oda might sprinkle in some humor, like Luffy trying to eat giant meat in the middle of danger, alongside intense plot developments. Thank you to the 500 fans who've been fired up with me. If this analysis is purer than distilled water, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Drop your predictions for Chapter 1151 and Elbaf's fate in the comments. See you in the next video.